Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is Societal Narcissism. This video is sponsored by contribution from Tony. Before I get to Tony's video, please go to the description box, click on the Rumble link. I ask everybody to watch over there as I'm still monetized, and it'll help out with the channel. Here's Tony's story. Tony sent in an audio recording of himself telling his story, so here we go.
Hey, Ollie. I've been binge watching your channel, man. I found it about a month ago, and I've been watching it while I work and drive. And if I'm frank, I think my story is actually pretty mild compared to what a lot of people have experienced.
Doesn't matter. Broken is broken. Don't ever try to validate your story compared to anybody else's. Just tell it.
I'm reading something I wrote. I'll try to make it as least robotic and painful as possible. Anyway, man, I guess I'll just jump right in and start at the beginning. I was born in 1983, so I'm an older millennial, but I grew up in a town with about 8 to 10 years of culture lag, so I think I got a lot of the Gen X experience. My parents were literally the butt of the boom, okay? Both born in 1964, but, you know, let's be frank, there's a lot of overlap for boomerisms for those born between 1940 and 1970 especially.
Exactly.
I was born healthy, but I decided to come out of the womb a bane to my mother's existence as I had breast refusal. Basically, I knew out of the womb what a poisonous whore's tits felt like and tasted like, and didn't want none of that shit.
I'm assuming you're from Long Island, 8 to 10 years. You sound like it. You sound like you're from Long Island.
Just to preface this, my mother didn't have postpartum depression, nor was she clinically diagnosed with any mental illness at the time. I mean, the doctors in the 80s apparently were fucking stupid, but my breast refusal carried on for the first week or so, and my mother simply gave up on feeding me to the point where I'd nearly starved to death.
The fact that you even know all this, that it's been hammered into your head, like, this is what I'm talking about. They hold you accountable for things that not only happen in your childhood, in your infancy, the first week of your life. Now, this has somehow been hammered into your head that you refused your mother's tit. Like, that's what's being hammered into you, that you're just trash from the vagina.
I'm pretty sure this is a large part of why she always resented me and why we never bonded. My father at the time reached out to my mom's family.
Because she's a borderline and you denied her. Understand, by denying the breastfeeding, you denied her the ability to pull out her tits and make everything about herself anywhere she goes. My mother loved doing that shit. Like, and I'm not against breastfeeding a child. I think it's probably healthier for the kid, but not all kids take to it. Erin wouldn't do it. But if you got mothers, so there's some of these mothers that just, they like making you uncomfortable doing it. Like, oh, this is just natural. It's like, we get that. But what you're doing is you're shoving it in everybody's faces. And what you did, obviously you knew what you were doing as an infant when you were doing this, is you were denying your mother her ability to make herself the center of attention by pulling her tits out.
He'd largely been estranged from his own, and my grandmother on my mother's side came out. Long story short, man, she saved my life in the next few days. This isn't my own original joke, and I can't remember where I heard it to give credits, but what I like to say about my grandmother is, if I didn't have that woman growing up, there wouldn't be enough federal land to bury all the bodies on. Now, suffice to say, she wasn't a narcissist, and neither was my grandfather. But all their children were. Why? Well, they were ignorant, silent generation enablers.
Spoiled.
I think a lot of boomer narcissists come from that. It's not always this chain. Largely, I think it is in general, but I think it's not always this chain of just constant narcissism for 400 years or whatever. Okay, so ignorant largely, my grandma still to this day is. She still doesn't understand any of this shit. And unlike a lot of stories, man, I've heard on this channel and elsewhere, I had her and my grandfather as a saving grace, and for that, man, I am eternally grateful. So as a baby, my mom would neglect me to the point where I was getting holes in my ass. Her words as she laughed at me when she told me the story, from unchanged diapers, okay?
You mean like sores? You mean diaper sores? Yeah, that's abuse. That's abuse, and that's something that, child services would take you away for if they saw it.
He would regularly dress me up as a girl and put makeup on me and take embarrassing photos.
Here we go.
Lots of
Here we
toddler
go.
nudes, of course. And when I was about 3.5 years
And somehow you don't. Wait a minute. You got sores on your ass, dressed up as a girl, put in makeup, and you think your story isn't as bad as others? Boy, they got you trained.
old, my brother was born, and he immediately became the golden child. With a small bit of humility, I say, he wasn't as bright as I was, and I think this made my mother feel less threatened by him. Around 4.5 years old, my mother and father separated and we moved in with her parents, the ones I mentioned in the beginning. At that point, they were basically doing everything for her and enabling all of her shitty behavior. She was frequently promiscuous with men at this time. She would occasionally pop in when she needed to guilt my grandfather into giving her money or something along those lines.
So this is, if you were 80, born in 83, so you're looking at 87, 88, 80, same exact period that my mother was whoring it up and my parents were whoring it up. Must have been something about the 80s, man. The 80s just drove these the degeneracy of the boomers was at peak.
My grandparents had lost a female child right after her, and it devastated my grandfather to the point where he could never say no to my mom. My father was scapegoated for everything
and she took advantage of every opportunity using that, didn't she?
That time, as he had started using hard drugs in what I later believed to be an attempt to deal with my mother's bullshit. He became flaky and distant, and this gave her the excuse she needed to leave. So I was unusually well behaved according to everyone in my family as a child, including my mother. Yeah.
Heard the same thing. I would just sit there. Same deal. Because you don't want to deal with that wrath. You don't want to deal with her. So you just try to make yourself invisible. That's what that's about.
Okay? And it's true when even the fucking boomer narc is singing your praises. Mm-hmm. But really, I think this just made...
Exactly. That's how I knew it was true. You know what? That's a great fucking point. Because that's how I knew it was true about me, because it was the one thing she would sing my praises about. It was like how well behaved I was. Because it was something that I'm sure you got compliments from other people about. So that made her look good. So she leaned into that shit.
To resent me even more and take me for granted even more. In my experiences with narcs, the squeaky shit wheel always gets the love grease because evil loves evil. After we had lived with my grandparents for a number of years, my mother decided she wanted to play mommy to me again and my brother. She drug us around from house to house, living with different men, all of which were abusive and extremely resentful to me, while leaving my brother alone.
Riding the old cock carousel, dicking attention. Because then they get to a point, to get to a certain age where they realize time's running out. The dick and attention clock is ticking away. And boy, do they get desperate.
Nothing sexual at the time, but lots of verbal abuse and physical abuse and gaslighting. On reflection, I think the gaslighting was the worst for me, at least, because that's when I was forming foundational opinions about myself and the world and learning who to trust and not to trust. Now it makes me see red, literally, just seeing someone else get gaslit. She would sort of play these guys against me, and all their problems would end up being my fault, even though I was only about 5 or 6 years old or so. At that point, she never had the stones to really yell at me and beat me herself.
No, they want to blame all their problems on you. They tell you you're the source of all their adult problems.
So she had these assholes do it for her. I think it was her little loophole to escape blame, They would use this drummed up conflict with me to bond with each other. My father at this point was completely out of the picture, heavily into drugs, gambling, and low-level organized crime even. My mother would constantly go into histrionics about how she wished she never had kids, how we ruined her life, all the playbook stuff that would continue over the next 20 to 30 years until I fucking finally cut her off. Nothing new there. She eventually got tired of me being a fucking burden on her relationships and decided to have my grandfather pay for her to go to nursing school because all of her whoring had failed to land her a good enough.
The whores always go for the nursing careers. That's what I'm telling you. You got to be careful. When you wonder about where all these drugs coming from, all these prescriptions, they're coming out of the hospitals from these nurses.
Man, and she needed to be independent, right? At this point, she dropped me off at my grandparents' house, and I lived with them for a number of years. These were some of the best years of my youth. I meshed really well with them because even though they were classic enablers, I've never been of a mind to take advantage of people. Never saw the fucking point, really. I mean, when you can easily get what you want from hard work and then you feel good about yourself. My grandparents were both pretty much clocked out at that point, from retiring and raising their own kids and just being older. But they gave me a place to stay, and they fed and food to eat for those years, and they were sweet to me. And for a while, I got to feel like a normal kid. Eventually, my mother once again decided to try and play mommy after she graduated from nursing school and had me and my brother come and live with her and her new boyfriend on the other end of the state. Her new boyfriend was in construction. He was pulling that bullshit in the 90s where they would steal all the scrap and resell it illegally. Another winner here. Oh,
sure, there's another one that had a back injury as well. What injury did he have? Back, neck, was something that he needed to be on oxys for, I'm sure.
Oh, and Ollie, guess what kind of fucking dogs he owned, huh?
Pits.
Anyway, my brother, as usual, was a golden child. I, on the other hand, was their emotional and physical punching bag. Her boyfriend would frequently beat me for asking basic questions.
See, this is the other thing. What mother would allow another man to put their hands on their child? A man that ain't your father. This is a boyfriend. Again, who would allow another man to put their hands on your child? Like a borderline looking for dick and attention. That's who.
Was constantly drunk and would enact extreme punishments for even the smallest offenses. For instance, one time I had to pull weeds and pick up dog shit with my bare hands in 100+ degree heat with no food and water for hours during the day for an entire 3-day holiday weekend while they just sat inside laughing at me. I was probably 9, I think, somewhere around there. Get this. It's because I asked him why he had a tool chest on the back of his truck twice. Okay? Just odd stuff like that would get me in huge trouble. So much stuff like that went on without any explanation as to why or what I did wrong. It was and still is dizzying. And of course, my mother not only pretended like this wasn't happening, but also instigated it when she was having a bad day. I'm feeling like shit. Go ahead, beat on my kid, right?
Yep.
My bedroom was on the other side of the master where they slept and as well. And of course, they pushed the bed right up next to the wall so I could hear them fucking every night. They would frequently expose me to scary movies and then tell me I was being a bitch or silly or whatever when I wanted comfort. Eventually, the school I was going to got involved as they were concerned about me being quote-unquote depressed looking all the time. And this caused the abuse to intensify as home because I was a tattletale. Well, the irony of it is I didn't even fucking say anything. I didn't say shit. The school just picked up on it. Eventually, my mom got tired of me again and sent me back to my grandparents, but she kept my brother this time. Big surprise here, but my mom and this guy eventually broke up after they ran out of excuses to blame people to blame for all their problems. This pattern would continue over the years as my mom would then proceed to move back home and guilt my grandfather into buying her a house. At this point, she was making decent money as a nurse and had a mortgage-free and rent-free housing. So she would frequently spend money on extravagant things for herself and my brother, and she would leave me in rags. I think I ate nothing but cup noodles for almost a year unless I went to my grandparents' house to be fed or one of the neighbor moms took pity on me. She was always fucking weird, especially with money, with me. As I got older, this really pissed me off considering the generosity my grandparents had shown to her. These boomers don't give two shakes of a shit about hypocrisy, though, and they view you as an idiot if you do. At this time, she started dating a guy that was about 7 to 8 years younger than her, in his early 20s, right? She would frequently leave me alone with this guy and his friends, knowing his family had a history of sexual abuse. I think we all know where this is going.
They want you to get abused. None of this is coincidental. This is all by design. They like it. They like it. These boomer women especially, they like this whole bad boy thing. Now, the whole start of the bad boy, they only want a guy who treats them like total fucking dog shit. That all started with these boomer women. It all started with them.
I won't go into details about my own experiences revolving around that, but luckily I didn't end up gay or an abuser myself or with any lasting physical damage.
Yep.
Eventually my mom got pregnant and gave birth to my little sister from this piece of shit. It wasn't until years later that my grandmother had detected some odd behavior coming from my sister, and she was changing her diaper and her hair smelled like urine.
What?
Fucking, ugh. Suffice to say, her own father was sexually abusing my sister.
Your mother can. I mean, this is the borderline. This is the borderline obsession with the bad boy. This is the borderline mother's obsession with the bad boy, because it makes her feel alive. Like, I can tame this, you know. It's like fucking a pit bull, really. I mean, that's really what it is. They want to control what's uncontrollable. Good luck.
Around 3 years old.
My pussy's so powerful. My pussy is so magic. It can control the uncontrollable. No, it can't.
Some good news, though. I found out later in life that this piece of shit had a stroke, and his then wife took all his shit and left him to die. Long story short, going back in time here. Long story short, they got the court involved, and the whole time they were trying to pin this shit on me. I was around 13 at the time and was quote unquote troubled, so an easy target.
They were trying to say you assaulted your sister? Yeah, that's fucked. Oh. Ooh. This is on your grandparents, though, because they enabled all this bullshit. They enabled all of this.
Mom didn't even bother putting up a fight for me. She just sort of shut down and went into a massive amount of debt buying luxury items, which once again my grandfather paid off, enabling all that. Yep. But thankfully, my grandparents were having none of that when it came to the accusations with me, and they did everything they could to protect me. Nothing really ever came out of it because they lacked evidence, and my mom simply left town and tuned it out. To this day, I don't think my sister knows about any of the shit, but she won't speak to me because my mom has got in her head.
Well, you can't help her. You can't help anybody who chooses to stay around your mother at this point.
A year or so after that, my mother took my brother with her, and she left this time and finally remarried again. My full brother, the golden child at this point, started heavily using drugs and getting into petty crime as he had become the supply. They had a new baby. My mom had another baby with her new husband, who was the new golden child. My full brother wasn't as strong as I was apparently, and couldn't handle the abuse and neglect. Her new husband wasn't sexually abusive or even really physically abusive, but he was the quintessential gaslighting, manipulative boomer narc, and followed that playbook to a T. At this point, my brother had become the supply and the scapegoat, so he leaned even heavier into drugs and has been in and out of prison his entire life. At this point, I was in high school and had a full-time job and moved out at 17, fully emancipated. I'd like to end this on a happy note. When I was only 20 years old, I met my now wife, my drop-dead, gorgeous Jewish princess. And we have been together ever since. You know, not to feed into the stereotypes, but yeah, she's a little crazy, but so am I, and I dig it. It's a good crazy though, you know, and I don't think I could possibly live with a woman who didn't throw a plate at my head once or twice a year, you know, and then apologize 10 seconds later. You know, she's not a narc. She apologizes. She's not a narc anymore.
Dude, that's not healthy. Nobody should be throwing something at your head. Like, no, nobody should be throwing things at your head.
More than any other woman. She comes from an abusive home too, but it's more just standard boomer narc stuff, you know. We only started having kids about 5 years ago because of millennial financial battles and because we also felt like we never really wanted them based on our experiences. Man, we were wrong, you know. We have 2 boys with another on the way. Apparently I can't make a girl for the life of me. My wife is 40 and pregnant. Again, healthy as can be. We're both super happy and healthy and making decent money. My boys are huge and they're super healthy. Life is beautiful, man.
Because you went no contact and you kept these people out of your life. I mean, that's really what happened there.
My grandfather passed away about 5 years ago, but my grandmother lives about 30 minutes away in an assisted living facility. She won't come to live with me because her kids won't visit her if she does. Because as a grown man with a family, I don't tolerate stupid bullshit anymore, and they fear me.
Yeah, you can't.
I've kind of become like a Terminator to narcissists in recent years. Zero tolerance for stupid bullshit. And I call everything out. And I mean everything. I get a hint. I get a whiff of a hint of a fucking scent. You're out of here. Never strangle these motherfuckers, but always look like you're about to. Wife says, I have the Eye of Sauron for narcs and creeps. As for my grandmother, her kids recently ripped her out of her house and sold it off, pillaging her coffers. And of course, sharing none of it with their kids.
Of course they did. Of course they did. You can't save her. You can't save her because she don't want to save herself.
I unfortunately was unable to prevent any of this, and I view it as one of my biggest failures.
There was nothing you could do. What were you going to do to stop it? You had no authority. There was nothing you could do. Especially because your grandmother could ultimately make the decision and come live with you and not see these people, but she's putting them over you. So she made her decision. Can't help her.
She attempted living with my mom's sister, who married a wealthy and weak, vulnerable narc man. Oh, and he's an accountant. Oh, he's an accountant. But she quickly decided my grandmother was a burden in her giant house, where nobody talks to each other. Then my grandmother tried living with my mom, who is unsurprisingly living alone after leaving a relationship with a violently alcoholic man in a small town with, guess who? My golden child brother living close by.
When he's not in prison, right? When he's not in prison, that is.
Oh, justice. My brother is actually okay to me. And, well, I mean, he's a bitch, but it's just kind of sad. We talk sometimes, but he is so fucking delusional. And, he got weak and delusional from going along with bullshit and lying to himself. Don't fucking lie to yourself, ever. He's a bitch. And you're okay when none of this shit actually bothers you. And I know I kind of choked up there for a minute, but it's because of the beauty. It's because of the beauty that life is beautiful now.
As long as you keep them out of your life. As long as you keep them out of your life and you can't get suckered in because of your grandmother, that's for damn sure. Because she made her decision. You can't save the enabler if they don't want to save themselves.
As I stated in the beginning, we have a dedicated room for Granny in our house, and my boys love her to death. She's a lively old broad, man, at 85. She's funny, and I hope she lives for many years. God bless all you guys, and stay strong. Now, just a little bit of advice. I would advise against doling out beatings to any narcs, especially in public, even though it feels great. But don't take any shit, and don't develop, and develop the ability to go no contact on a dime. But mainly exile is the key and your ultimate weapon. Thanks, Ollie, my man. You're the only dude with a bun I respect. Listen to what he says when he says no contact. Much love.
Said it well. Said it well. I appreciate the kind words. I will say, though, the part about your wife throwing plates at your head is a bit concerning. Nobody should be throwing plates at anybody. And the sad thing is, look, your grandmother made her decision. She'd rather be stolen from and manipulated than to cut these people out of her life. But you can't let that affect yours. So, sad. I don't know why you thought that your story wasn't as bad or on par to anybody else's. It's up there. Reminds me a lot of my own. So, I hope that helps. Thank you, Tony, so much for the contribution and story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help but can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to subscribe to both channels on Rumble. If you haven't watched the video over there, please do. Even a click helps. Follow me on X and Telegram as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.